Hello, I'm Esteban and I'm a TD at Magic Hammer Studios. Today I wanted to showcase a couple of tools we've been working on, mainly a Fusion Prism plugin, but we're gonna showcase a couple of other tools that we're really excited about, so I hope you guys enjoy. First of all, I wanted to give an overview of the tool. Basically, just go around and see. We have basically our main tools like save version, save command, project browser, and we get also the state manager with a couple of custom states that we're gonna check over the length of this video. And it has an OCIO manager for Blender that detects which Blender versions are installed in your computer right now and just creates an OCIO node with this version, so you can just like pick the workflow. These kind of tools are gonna keep coming, and this is kind of the first non-embedded tool into Prism, but it's part of our workflow. So yeah, this is kind of an overview of what the plugin is. So, being a Blender-based studio, I'm gonna showcase a bit of our workflow because it's pertinent to the development of the Fusion plugin. If you don't use Blender, just skip ahead and use your workflow with your application. Blender has the Prism integration, doesn't work well with our Fusion plugin. If you're using Houdini, it's gonna work perfectly. I haven't tested with Maya or Max, but it should work. So, having said that, if you're still sticking around, I'm gonna show a bit of how we do things in regards to Blender. So I have these tests in here. What we do is to manage layers, we use the state manager, and we have this. I'm gonna just like remove everything right now. And what we do is we create a new render layer, and this way we administrate like what's going on with the layers. And here I'm gonna do the monkey head, and these are the enabled passes. If I wanted like a transmission has numbering here, so first just to show how it works, I'm gonna create the passes. And basically I don't like transmission here, so I'm gonna remove it. Everything else seems okay. I don't need the denoising data or the debug samples, so I'm gonna remove those two. And basically this is it for this head, so I'm gonna activate denoising for it. Now I'm gonna create the extra few layers. So the other layer that I'm gonna create is the floor, and for the floor, again, I don't need these two, so I'm gonna delete them. And I don't need to be in the floor layer, like I can just manage my passes from here, so transmission is not needed either. Maybe I'm gonna put the UVs here just to create them, and here it creates the render layer and it organizes the render layer with respect to the position of the other one. And right now I want another layer for the extra geometry. So what I'm gonna do is, because I have no more layers, I'm gonna create a new render layer. Okay, and it says like you have no layers. Do you want to create another one? Yeah, extra geo. Okay, and it creates a new layer. I can just put the diffuse passes here. It's okay. And I'm gonna also add a cryptomat object here. Okay, that's okay. So now I have all my layers, I can save. I'm just gonna set up this extra G layer a bit. So to render all this, I'm gonna use a image render. Here I'm gonna say shot 1 to 15. I can submit it to the farm, but this is local, so it's not gonna work well, but you can submit if you want, like it works great. And I'm just gonna execute and see you guys in a bit. So the execution was successful, and I went ahead and created another version with a few colors changed. And yeah, I just run the script again, and it handled like the versions and everything. I can even do the same version, like overwrite the same version, and it will just put whatever should be in whatever there is. So what I want to do now is to export the geometry to ingest it in Fusion, and this is what Prism does, like has always done so well. So I'm just gonna execute this, and now I want to get the camera too. So if I go to shot cam, okay, I'm gonna execute the camera, and here it's gonna be a bit different because when I go to my products and check the shot cam, I'm gonna see that I have this bcam, and this bcam is our format to communicate with Fusion, because the ABC cam it just doesn't read well in Fusion, so we made our own format just to, it's a JSON, it's like nothing special, but it's something that Fusion can ingest, and yeah, like this makes our life like way easier. So yeah, like right now I have this, and see you in Fusion. Okay, so now in Fusion we create a scene using the version from preset or any other method. First thing I want to do is just to import some passes. So I'm gonna import all these passes. Okay, it asks me if it needs to handle the multi-layer EXRs. I don't need to, it's the Cryptomat. Here it's my first layer, and now I'm gonna go to my floor and all AOVs, no, and here is my second layer and my monkey head, and import all AOVs, no, and there we go. These are my three layers, and it's gonna also handle like the length of the shot and whatever it's needed, and it's gonna handle the versions too. So if here I have a version 1 and I want to go to version 2 for this layer, I have a couple of options. I can go to the project browser, and if I go to the monkey head version 1 and import, I can actually yes, and it's gonna import everything, and it's gonna downgrade from version 2 to version 1, and now I have version 1 here. Here if I had version 2, the same thing, I can go to version 1. I'm gonna keep it like this, like just version 1 in here and version 2 in here and version 1 in here, and then I can change it. So also if it adds or remove nodes, it's gonna handle that. The other thing that you can do is just if I have this on version 1 but I want a couple of passes to be on version 2, what I can do is just update selected, and it's gonna update only those passes. And here version 1 to version 2, so only for those passes. Here if I want only the alpha, and the alpha doesn't exist in monkey head, import current AOV, and no, and there we go, only the alpha.
As a parenthesis, I wanted to mention that you can actually drag and drop images into the flow. You just have to press Ctrl to do it as a sequence. If you do it just by dragging and dropping without a modifier key, you will get an interpretation of the sequence as if they were a bunch of separate images.
So this is a way to do it just for one image, so that's pretty cool. And if it's kind of unsorted, you can just like do this, and it should sort it out again, so it's gonna be cool. This is the passes handling and version handling. So this is one of the strong suits of the plugin. Other things like that the plugin does really well, it's handling the geometry, the import of 3D stuff. So if I import this or the venue, I did it with another FPS, because Fusion is actually really bad at providing an API to do this programmatically. We had to take control of the UI. So for this, until the process finishes, it's not recommended to just click about. Like, this is gonna make sure that this screen is in the active screen, like the Fusion screen, and it's gonna go through all the import process and autofill everything. So it just needs like the user to stay put while it does like its whole thing. But after it finishes, in this case it went to 0, but if you have another like a tool picked, it's gonna go to the left of that tool. So here I have my 3D scene, and now I'm gonna import my camera, and it's gonna automatically import the Blender camera and the one that we had with the custom export. Like, if it sees that camera in there, like the Blender camera, like the .blend file, it's gonna use that instead of the ABC or the FBX. So if there is out, check what we have. Okay, so we are having here our 3D scene, and we can move it about, and like this should match. If I have here and I put this somewhere and I made a, if I re-import this to go to the latest version, okay, it's gonna do like the same thing, blah, blah, but it's gonna do its best to keep everything connected. Like, if it has to remove some nodes because the ABC description changed, it's gonna remove them. But if it finds the same nodes that were already there, it's gonna reconnect everything.
We can actually manage savers from the state manager. What we need is image render, and this is basically a saver manager. We can give it, my shot isn't set up with the frame range, so this way, if I click on the flow and set render no, it's gonna create it on the last click position. I also can just like grab a node and create an image render, and let's say edger 01, okay, and here, and for demonstration purposes I'm gonna create another one here, and edger 02, okay, and here we go, and we can enable and disable these nodes, create a folder, get a subset, and manage this subset of nodes. We can execute them if we put a valid frame range in here, and we will have a couple of renders, okay? And if we go to the path of each one of these, the path is gonna be assigned automatically. This one, it's not gonna be assigned because it wasn't executed. If I wanted to just assign a path to this, like to only assign a path and nothing else, I can just say set output only and execute it. And what I'll get is just a path. Now I can render as I commonly render in Fusion, and that's gonna be perfectly fine. The other thing I can do is use a net render, and the net render, when I execute, it's gonna handle everything. Like, it's gonna update the path of whatever is enabled, it's gonna ignore whatever is disabled. If I execute, I'm going to have a new version in these two, and this one hasn't changed.
We are gonna keep developing this plugin to get it production ready over this year. We are following some development. We want to integrate USD and investigate if we can do some Hydra rendering with cycles and some other stuff like log files. But we are starting to test the render, like the plugin, and until now, a lot of bugs, but it's going well. Okay, hope you find it useful. Bye, guys.